Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Beth and I am here to do a little bit of a haul, and then you're going to see this shirt again because I'm going to do another video. So I've not recently done a haul. It's been a minute. So I have some books that you have already seen in my May TBR, but I just want to go ahead and do the haul with them. And then I have book of the month from 2 months, and you've seen some of those as well. So the first three that I want to show you, I got them used from Amazon, and they are some Mary Shelley books. The first one I want to show you is Maurice, or it's also called The Fisher's Cot. And I'll have to take my glasses off to read. It says, in 1820, 2 years after she wrote the momentous Frankenstein, Mary Shelley wrote a story for Laurette, the 11-year-old daughter of Lady Mountcashel, who had eloped to Italy under scandalous circumstances like Mary herself. The story, Maurice, or The Fisher's Cot, had lain unpublished and undiscovered until 1997, exactly 200 years after Mary Shelley's birth. And there is a introduction by Claire Tomalin, and I'm going to read this for the Mary Shelley readathon that Books Love. Oh man, I'm so bad with channel names. Now I gotta put my glasses back on. Books Love Jenna. I am subscribed to 2 channels that are Books Love, and then a person's name is hosting, and she told me that this was a good one to read, and she said, but read the introduction by Claire Tomalin last. I guess it gives some things away, but I'm excited to start this. I'm currently right now listening to Frankenstein and reading along with that. The next one, because I asked her for some recommendations that she told me that I got. She didn't tell me these in this order, but the next one she said was the Letters by Mary Shelley. So I have a bind up, and this one actually contains Frankenstein, Matilda, tales and stories, essays and reviews, and letters. I'm going to read the letters. It's called the Mary Shelley Reader. It's by Betty T. Bennett and Charles E. Robinson. I had to make sure that it had the right author. And so this is a complete edition of her letters and short stories and journals. So let's see. I'm not sure what let's see if it says what short stories are in here. It has Recollections of Italy, The Bride of Modern Italy, Roger Dodsworth, The False Rhyme, Transformation, The Dream, and The Mortal Immortal. So I could read those as well. And then the last one that she told me that I bought was Mary Shelley, a biography by Muriel Spark. She said it was a really good biography, and the back has a picture of the author that wrote it. And so it says, wives of great men tend to live lesser lives in the shadow of their husbands, but Mary Shelley has a strong claim upon her attention beyond being the lover, wife, and widow of Percy Shelley. Born in 1797, she was the daughter of the pioneer feminist Mary Wollstonecraft. I can't say it. Wollstonecraft author of A Vindication of the Rights of Woman, and the philosopher William Godwin. At 16, she came to know Shelley, an admirer of her father and frequent visitor at their home. Very soon, the young people had embarked upon a friendship, the first step in a progress from elopement to marriage. After the death of his wife, Harriet, a union that is part of the literary history of the Romantic era and that ended only with Shelley's death in a sailing accident in 1822. These are the famous years of Mary's life, but the long decades of widowhood, she died in 1851, are engrossing and poignant. So, I'm anxious to read these three, the letters, the biography, and her other book. And one of her other books. She's probably got other that I don't know about. So, those are all for the Mary Shelley read-upon that I am participating in, but I have to finish Frankenstein. So now, Book of the Month books. These are my April Book of the Months, I believe. Let me look back at these were in my April box. So we have All We Were Promised by Ashton Lattimore. The past of three young black women in pre-Civil War Philadelphia unexpectedly and dangerously collide in this debut novel inspired by the explosive history of a divided city. Philadelphia, 1837. When Charlotte escaped from the crumbling White Oaks plantation down south, she'd expected freedom to feel different from her former life as an enslaved housemaid. After all, Philadelphia is supposed to be the birthplace of American liberty. Instead, she's locked away playing servant to her white passing father as they both attempt to hide their identities from slave catchers who would destroy their new lives. Longing to break away, Charlotte befriends Nell, a budding abolitionist from one of Philadelphia's wealthiest black families. Just as Charlotte starts to envision a future, a familiar face from her past reappears. Evie, her friend from White Oaks, has been brought to the city by the plantation mistress, and she's desperate to escape. But as Charlotte and Nell conspire to rescue her in a city engulfed by race riots and attacks on abolitionists, they soon discover that fighting for Evie's freedom may cost them their own. And I love historical fiction books because I just love the history that is within them, because, well, I teach history. I also got Daughter of Mine by Megan Miranda. I have read Megan Miranda before. I can't right off think of the name of them, but let me see if it lists the I believe I read All the Missing Girls. Sounds familiar. I don't know. I would have to go back and look. All right. So this one is about the discovery of the first car was a shock. The second car was a pattern, a warning, and a key to a decades-old mystery that may be better off left to the past. Mirror Lake, nestled in the mountains of North Carolina, is a beautiful waterfront community where neighbors know neighbors, family businesses are the norm, and the small town way of life seems to go on year after year, uninterrupted. When the long-serving detective dies suddenly, his daughter Hazel Sharp returns home after nearly 10 years away, weary of the place and people she's left behind. But Hazel isn't the only relic of the past to resurface. A drought has descended on the region, and as the water level in the lake drops, long-hidden secrets begin to emerge. Soon Hazel finds evidence that may finally explain what happened to her mother, who disappeared when Hazel was a teenager, taking the family savings with her. But unearthing the mysteries of the past sets Hazel on a dangerous search to uncover the truth buried at the heart of her hometown, and maybe even her family. I love thrillers and suspense books because I don't know. I just they catch your attention and hold it. All right, and that is evident when I start looking through book of the month. A lot of the books that I gravitate toward are thriller. So the next one in that box was Bye Baby by Carol Lovering. And this says, every friendship has its shadow. On a brisk fall night in a New York apartment, 35-year-old Billy West hears terrified screams. It's her lifelong best friend, Cassie Barnwell, one floor above, and she's just realized her infant daughter is missing. Billy is shaken as she looks down into her own arms to see the baby, remembering with a jolt of fear that she is responsible for the kidnapping that has instantly shattered Cassie's world. Once fiercely bonded by their secrets, Cassie and Billy have drifted apart in adulthood, no longer the inseparable pair they used to be in their small Hudson Valley hometown. Cassie is married to a wealthy man, has recently become a mother, and is building a following as a lifestyle influencer. She is also desperate to leave her past behind, including Billy, who is single and childless and no longer fits into Cassie's world. But Billy knows the worst thing Cassie has ever done, and she will do whatever it takes to restore their friendship. All right. Then I was supposed to read this for a book club and on a Patreon that I'm a part of, but I didn't get it read. But it is on my TBR for this month, and it's Happily Never After by Lynn Painter. It says their name, the objectors, their job, to break up weddings as hired. Their dilemma, they just might be in love with each other. When Sophie Steinbeck finds out just before her nuptials that her fiancé has cheated yet again, she desperately wants to call it off. But because her future father-in-law is also her dad's cutthroat boss, she can't be the one to do it. Her savior comes in the form of a professional objector whose purpose is to show up at weddings and proclaim the words no couple, usually, wants to hear at their ceremony. I object. During anti-wedding festivities that night, Sophie learns more about Max the Objector's job. It makes perfect sense to her. He saves people from wasting their lives, from hurting each other. He's a modern-day hero, and Sophie wants in. The two love cynics start working together, going from wedding to wedding, and Sophie's having more fun than she's had in ages. She looks forward to every nerve-wracking ceremony where they save the lovesick souls of the betrothed masses. As Sophie and Max spend more time together, however, they discover that their physical chemistry is off the charts, leading them to dabble in a little session. But it's totally fine because they definitely do not have feelings for each other. Love doesn't exist after all. And then everything changes. A groom-to-be hires Sophie to object, but his fiancée is the woman who broke Max's heart. As Max wrestles with whether he can be a party to his ex getting hurt, Sophie grapples with the sudden realization that she may have fallen hard for her partner in crime. And the last one is one that I had been waiting on. Abby Jimenez, Just for the Summer. This one is also on my TBR this month. I remember my TBR was rather huge, and I'm just choosing which ones I want to read. 4 dates, a kiss, and a breakup. That's all it will take to find their soulmate. When it comes to love, Emma is cursed. Every guy she dates finds his true love after they break up. But it turns out she's not the only one afflicted with this condition. His name is Justin, and his Reddit thread about being love's good luck charm has gone viral. Now the two have come up with an ingenious plan. If they date each other, their curses will cancel out, and they'll go on to find their soulmate. Only Justin wasn't supposed to be so unbelievably cute and hilarious. But when Emma's toxic mother shows up and Justin has to assume guardianship of his 3 siblings, they're suddenly navigating a lot more than they expected, including catching real feelings. Has fate finally brought the perfect pair together, or will their cure be way more hazardous than the curse itself? So, I'm really looking forward to this one. I love Abby Jimenez's writing. All right, so those 5 were from my April Book of the Month box. So now we're going to go on to this month's TBR box, which was May. So we have The Return of Ellie Black by Emiko Jean. And it says, a missing girl returns, but that isn't the end of the story. It's only the beginning. It's been 20 years since Detective Chelsea Calhoun's sister vanished. Ever since, Chelsea's been searching for signs, for closure, for other missing girls. But happy endings are rare in Chelsea's line of work. Then a glimmer of hope. Local teenager Ellie Black, who disappeared without a trace 2 years earlier, has been found alive in the woods of Washington State. Only, something isn't right with Ellie. She won't say where she's been or who she's protecting. Now it's up to Chelsea to find answers before it's too late, for herself and for the memory of her sister, but mostly for the next girl who could be taken, and who, unlike Ellie, might not ever return. This debut, that's just about the author. So, I love this cover. It's so pretty with the silhouette of the girl. All right, and I got Middle Tide by Sarah Crouch. That's really pretty with the fog coming off the water. It says, in this gripping and intensely atmospheric debut, disquiet descends on a small town after the suspicious death of a beautiful young doctor, with all clues pointing to the reclusive young man who abandoned the community in chase of big city dreams, but returned for the first love he left behind. One peaceful morning in the small Puget Sound town of Point Orchards, the lifeless body of Dr. Aaron Landry is found hanging from a tree on the property of prodigal son and failed writer Elijah Leith. Sheriff Jim Godbrett's initial investigation points to an obvious suicide, but upon closer inspection there seems to be clues of foul play when he discovers that the circumstances of the beautiful doctor's death were ripped straight from the pages of Elijah's own novel. Out of money and motivation, 33-year-old Elijah returns to his empty childhood home to lick the wounds of his futile writing career. Hungry for purpose, he throws himself into restoring the ramshackle cabin his father left behind and rekindling his relationship with Nikita, the extraordinary girl from the nearby reservation whom he betrayed but was never able to forget. As the town of Point Orchards turns against him, Elijah must prove his innocence while fighting against an unexpected foe who is close and cunning enough to flawlessly frame him for murder. And it's a really small book, but it sounds really good. Then, The Wives by Simone Gorindo. I probably butchered that last name. This is a memoir. It says, at 27, newly married and working her dream job as an editor in New York City, Simone Gorindo thought she had found the home and sense of belonging she'd always yearned for. Then when her husband joined an elite combat unit in the Army, she quit her job to follow him to a town in Georgia, and 2 weeks later he deployed to Afghanistan. Home had never felt so far away. Enter The Wives. There is an old adage in the Army: if we wanted you to have a family, we would have issued one. But in Simone's husband's unit, family was borderline essential, the soldiers' gravitational force. They can do what they do because of you, the commanding officers told the spouses. The women were given memos on how to be wives during and after deployments. Their primary assignment was silence. Don't let on where your husband is or what he does for a living. On monitored phone calls, don't ask him when he'll be home or why he seems as distant as the moon. And so, Their lives became secrets they shared only with one another. Despite their radical differences, the other wives became Simone's unlikely home. And those colors are just beautiful on that cover. So, all right. This one I have debated buying. I debated buying it at Barnes & Noble one day, and then I just ordered it from Book of the Month. It was much cheaper, but I didn't get the sprayed edges. But this is a fantasy. It's A Fate Inked in Blood. It's by Daniel L. Jensen. On the back it says, her fate is inked in her blood, it's carved in her bones. The power is Freya's destiny. A shield maiden, blessed by the gods, battles to unite a nation under a power-hungry king while fighting her growing desire for his fiery son in this Norse-inspired fantasy romance. Bound in an unwanted marriage, Freya spends her days gutting fish, but dreams of becoming a warrior and of putting an axe in her boorish husband's back. Freya's dreams abruptly become reality when her husband betrays her to the region's Jarl, landing her in a fight to the death against his son, Bjorn. To survive, Freya is forced to reveal her desperate secret. She possesses a drop of a goddess's blood, which makes her a shield maiden with magic capable of repelling any attack. And it's been foretold that such magic will unite the fractured nation of Skalin beneath the one who controls the shield maiden's fate. Believing he's destined to rule Skalin as king, the fanatical Jarl binds Freya with a blood oath and orders Bjorn to protect her from their enemies. Desperate to prove her strength, Freya must train to fight and learn to control her magic, all while facing perilous tests set by the gods. The greatest test of all, however, may be resisting her forbidden attraction to Bjorn. That sounds interesting. And the last one from that box is Only If You're Lucky by Stacy Willingham. A sharp and twisty exploration of female friendship. Lucy Sharp is larger than life, magnetic and addictive, bold and dangerous, especially for Margot, who meets Lucy at the end of their freshman year at Liberal Arts College in South Carolina. Margot is the shy one, the careful one, always the sidekick and never the center of attention. But when Lucy singles her out at the end of the year, a year Margot spent studying and playing it safe, and asks her to room together, something in Margot can't say no. Something daring or starved or maybe even envious. And so Margot finds herself living in an off-campus house with these three other girls, Lucy the ringleader, Sloane the sarcastic one, and Nicole the nice one. The three of them opposites, but also deeply intertwined. It's a year that finds Margot finally coming out of the shell she's been in since the end of high school, when her best friend Eliza died 3 weeks after graduation. Margot and Lucy have become the closest of friends, but by the middle of their sophomore year, one of the fraternity boys from the house next door has been brutally murdered, and Lucy is missing without a trace. And the last book I want to share with you that I have purchased is Emily Henry's Funny Story. It's a funny story. Daphne always loved the way her fiancé Peter told their story. How they met on a blustery day, fell in love over an errant hat, and moved back to his lakeside hometown to begin their life together. He really was good at telling it, right up until the moment he realized he was actually in love with his childhood best friend, Petra, which is how Daphne begins her new story, stranded in a beautiful Waning Bay, Michigan. I am just not able to talk today. Without friends or family, but with a dream job as a children's librarian that barely pays the bills. And proposing to be roommates with the only person who could possibly understand her predicament, Petra's ex, Miles Nowick. Scruffy and chaotic, with a penchant for taking solace in the sounds of heartbreak love ballads, Miles is exactly the opposite of practical buttoned-up Daphne, whose co-workers know so little about her they have a running bet that she's either FBI or in witness protection. The roommates mainly avoid one another until one day, while drowning their sorrows, they form a tenuous friendship and a plan. If said plan also involves posting deliberately misleading photos of their summer adventures together, well, who could blame them? But it's all just for show, of course, because there's no way Daphne could actually start her new chapter by falling in love with her ex-fiance's new fiance's ex, right? So, that is my little haul for the last couple of months. And if you have already seen them, then I apologize. I didn't remember if I showed the last month's haul. So I just want to make sure I got them all on there. And if you stuck with me, thank you. I'm not editing this video because I'm just going to post it. And if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you're not already subscribed and you want to see more from me, just click that subscribe button down below. And I'll see you in the next video.